Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and pleased to be with you again. My name is Bruce Ross, and I'm joined today with Chris Shearer and Mike Kramer. And we've come together. We are very interested in how to create business success without the pain. And we have created a hybrid approach which combines the people side, the mindset side as an intrinsic part of a very effective operations inside it. And what we're looking to do over these series of continual improvement webinars is to give you insights that will help you inside your business and hopefully challenge your thinking a little bit to think differently as to how you can achieve your business success.
Yeah, so we're happy to have Mike with us here today. If you haven't seen or if you don't remember one of our earlier introduction sessions, Mike actually started his own pharmaceutical manufacturing company at 25 years old, so it was a few years back at least, and he built that business up to a pretty substantial level, and then actually sold it to a Silicon Valley venture capitalist. And after that, he went into the work that he's doing now, which has basically been consulting with small and mid-sized business owners, CEOs, presidents, and their teams to help them do the same thing with their business. And during that time, he actually created a management system that we're huge fans of. And when you hear management system, Mike is the guy who created that. So anyway, with that, we'll get on with the presentation. And
so today, Chris, you want me to talk about operations, am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. So Mike, you've seen this, right? But we'd kind of like to hear from you. What do people say about their companies as some of the real problems that they have?
Well, first, I think that we have to state that what our approach is a fully integrated approach, and operations is only one component of a fully integrated management system. So that you're talking people, process, strategy, operations, results. It's all integrated into like a management machine. In terms of operations, though, when we focus on operations, oftentimes when you're talking to a leader, they're frustrated because their operations aren't systematic. Their individual processes that make up their operations are not repeatable. And they're not even well documented with up-to-date operating procedures. And when you ask business owners and leaders of organizations, if somebody would have an accident or not come back to work tomorrow for some reason, what would happen to your business? They start to shudder and get very stressed out because they realize that their business is over-dependent on specific people doing specific work. That goes back to the fact that operations, their processes are not systematic or well documented. So if somebody doesn't show up to work, they can't do that very critical operational process. Ultimately, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing in most organizations.
Yeah,
So
that
Mike,
makes. Oh,
what would you say is the problem with not having optimized
Well,
operations?
the overarching problem is that they don't have one company way. Most organizations have multiple manager ways, and if they have multiple locations, they'll have multiple location ways, but they don't align themselves to one company way. Every process should be performed consistently by everyone in the organization, no matter which customer they're serving or where in the organization or around the world they're performing it. Also, when you speak to leaders, a consequence of this is that they tend to lack visibility. When we think of a leader, we think oftentimes of a conductor of a symphony orchestra. The leader isn't doing the work. The leader is making sure that all the work is being performed with excellence. Every instrument is being played perfectly, right? Well, if the leader or the supervisors don't have that kind of visibility, then they lack the control they need to create a truly scalable and highly efficient organization.
And how does this us and them mentality fit into that? It seems like there's a fracturing that's going on there.
Well, when you lack open two-way communication and leaders truly don't listen to their employees, because let's face it, employees are where the action's at. They know what's working and what's broken. They know what customers are complaining. They know that expensive equipment or that expensive software, if it's working or not. And if you don't have a way to listen to your people as true partners in quality, then the leadership is missing out. So it's not, we're up here, we're leaders, and you're down there, but everybody should become a leader of the work that they perform as full arm-in-arm linked partners.
And yeah, I was going to ask about the symptoms. So how would you know if you actually have these issues that we're talking about here in your business?
Well, there's a lot of additional symptoms, but here are a few. In addition to these, you could add stress and frustration, and anxiety, which a lot of leaders and employees live with because their operations really are not optimal, right? But in terms of the operations, there's a lot of errors, right? There's a lot of rework. There's inconsistency between customers. That poor quality causes customers to complain and ultimately to leave, So a lot of these organizations are on the precipice between extreme success, if only they had scalable operations, and failure, where, what happens if some of their key employees or customers leave?
Yeah, that reminds me of what we hear a lot, and I've heard you say it a few times, Mike, is that house of cards, right, about to crumble. It's so indicative.
Yeah. If you'll recall, we did research and we surveyed over 450 business owners and leaders of mid-market and smaller organizations. And the way the researcher described most organizations is as a magnificent house of cards. It's amazing what these people have created, but it's such a slippery structure that at any moment, anything that can go wrong could topple the whole amazing, beautiful structure. And we don't want to see that. We want organizations to have incredibly solid and scalable operations. It's kind of like steel girders instead of slippery cards. Like that?
Metaphor. Yeah. Okay, and so the implications.
Well, the implications for not having that integrated management system where operations is included. So remember, it has to be an integrated management system. You could already see by the responses to this, to the other slides, that operations cannot be viewed in a silo. It requires people. It requires thought about how do we satisfy our customers, right? It's all integrated. So first off, if you've got a lack of structure, if you have a slippery deck of cards instead of the steel girders, there's going to be a tremendous amount of stress and frustration and anxiety. And we got to eliminate that because that creates dense fog that people can't see what the next steps are. Also, communication and collaboration are very difficult when you've got the fog of disorganization. And of course, customer satisfaction, retention, referrals are impacted. And just think about this for a moment. If your employees did not have to spend so much time putting out the same fires over and over and over again, they could spend all that time on innovation and making sure your customers are satisfied. So that's the value.
So, Mike, this actually goes to the study that you were part of, and I take two things away from this, or at least two things. One is that this is real, right? That companies get stuck, and the numbers basically are not in people's favor in terms of how long their business lasts, and the fact that they actually get stuck at a certain point, it becomes that much harder to get moving. But also that they're not in a position to move forward, right? Which really goes to the next slide, which I think you'll talk to about why they need to get out of that fog so that they can move forward.
Okay.
The environment's not right.
Well, a common mistake that we see is when leaders finally have had it. You've had it. You're ready to take action, right? So what's the first thing they do? They'll read the the best-selling books that are out there, or they'll hire a business consultant or coach, and invariably they'll start with the end in mind, right? And they'll start with mission, vision, values, and strategy, and they'll spend $30,000 or more on what I call 3 days at the Radisson, and they'll spend all of this time and emotional energy, and they'll have dramatic announcements letting their people know that they're going to finally take the bull by the horns. And it's all about talking and thinking and aspiring. And what we found is business owners are pursuing excellence and fixing their disorganized organization backwards. You got to start with operations first. You got to lift the fog or clear the fog, get everything very systematic and organized. There's so much low-hanging fruit in ROI to pursue this approach. And once the fog is cleared, people throughout the organization, not just the leaders, but the employees too, will have all this time and energy that they could focus in on what's next, innovation. And, you know, guys, we've talked to a lot of business leaders, right? Combined, we have, 60 years of experience working with medium and smaller businesses. And what we've discovered is we can often dream a bigger dream for our clients than they can for themselves when they're in this fogged in mindset. And so it's better to help lift the fog, focus on creating a scalable organization, and at the appropriate time, everybody will know it, then to focus on strategy, focus on mission, vision, and values, and then drive towards the next level of the organization.
Yeah, that's quite a remarkable approach, because my experience has been everyone starts and reviews the mission, vision, values, and how to get people to buy in. But in fact, one of the most powerful ways to get people to buy in is to listen to their ideas and suggestions around what's not working. I mean, that's one of the simplest, most direct routes. And once you've got their buy-in and their ideas have been implemented, they're starting to see progress and things shift. And at that stage, then you can start to raise, okay, so where do we want to take it next? And they're starting to feel there's a momentum of success and positivity and inclusion. And whammo, the culture is beginning to, the bottom-up power of the culture is beginning to show itself as a resurgent force. So, yeah, I like it.
Really exciting. Yeah, it's very, very exciting, because innovation and improvement starts with improving the operational processes, and you're engaging your people and identifying what's broken and then empowering them to improve it. So all that good stuff, that strategic stuff, is starting to be stirred at the very beginning. So I really like what you just said there.
Okay, so what's the how do you reverse that approach and create your own company way there, Mike?
Right. So the first thing that we do is we focus on the operations and identify what are all the moving parts in the organization. And we identify what are the big issues and problems in the organization, so that you could identify what the fires are and put them out once and forever. You should never have to put out a fire twice. Issues are always going to pop up, but if you have a mechanism in place to quickly, rapidly identify the issue and then engage your people in resolving the issue, you should resolve it in a way that it can't possibly happen again. While you're doing this, all your processes, your critical processes, have to become very systematic and repeatable, and at the same time well documented, so that the organizational know-how of performing your critical processes in your business are owned by the business. That creates incredible organizational flexibility and resilience. So if people leave or you have to grow quickly, you've got all of the learning materials and process definitions that people need to learn that position. And then, of course, everything is fueled by a beautiful employee-powered continuous improvement cycle, where you're really listening to your people. They're engaged and encouraged to contribute their issues and ideas for improvement, and empowered to implement change, all with accountability and transparency built in. So with our approach, the leader has complete visibility and control over all the moving parts, They're a true conductor of a magnificent symphony orchestra, and every employee is playing their instruments beautifully. And when they need a little coaching or direction, the leadership and supervisors are right there to make a minor adjustment.
So Mike, you're talking about two things here, really. One is the methodology and the framework, and the other is the actual management system that enables it to move to the next level.
Well, installing the management system is the way to move forward. Most organizations and leaders, they think about their operational processes as being, the work that they do on a day in, day out basis. But management itself is a critical operational process that also needs to be systematized, standardized, and continuously improving. After all, how would you communicate and collaborate and engage your people properly if you don't have a management system? So management is one of those critical processes that needs a system. And that's what we refer to as our management system, or system of management.
Beautiful.
And by the way, guys, this is not our first webcast, right? We talk a lot about this notion of integration. And we started the presentation by talking about how operations is just one element in a fully integrated management framework. So I just want to also just follow up and remind you that operations cannot be managed in a silo. You have to connect it back to people, process, strategy, metrics, reporting, leadership. Everything has to be done with complete transparency so that leaders can have confidence in delegating responsibilities and having this beautiful company way. One company way instead of multiple manager ways creates a wonderful common language, a common management language. Now everybody knows how we have a meeting. Everybody knows how we coach our employees. Everybody knows what's expected of them. It's a beautiful thing. And it works just as well if you have a distributed team or a team that is in one location. And every employee, in fact, becomes a leader of their own work. It's a wonderful thing to behold as we install it.
Yeah, and knowing that people actually are encouraged to become part of that process and stop it when necessary, when things go wrong, bring up issues, I think is one shift or change that's really different about the approach that you've just outlined.
Yeah, exactly.
So the end result is that one company way. That's nice.
Yeah, creating one company way.
So again, we've probably touched on some things that everybody that's listening has heard before. We've probably missed a few things just because we're not seeing what you see. We're not familiar directly with your business. But really what we wanted to accomplish is for you to think about this and think about maybe a different approach. And ultimately, if this resonates with you, if you're seeing some of these same challenges, problems, and symptoms and the implications for your business, we'd love to have a conversation with you so that we can understand more about your business, who your customers are, what it is you're selling, and what kind of challenges and opportunities you're having with your people. So, what next, right? So basically, as always, feel free to message not only on this Facebook Live, but also send us a message. Send a message to Bruce or to me, Chris. Feel free to email me if you'd like to, take it offline and just start that conversation directly. Happy to have that conversation. And then finally, one of the things you can do is you can take our success score. So Mike worked with the Baldrige Alliance and actually created researched a proven diagnostic assessment called Success Score. And we're providing a link here. You're welcome to take that success score, and what we'd like to do is just have a conversation with you about that. Make sure you put in my name, Chris Shearer, as your business coach. It'll ask you for that. But basically, this is going to give you an understanding and help give us an understanding of what's going on in your business. And we'd love to sit down and have a conversation with you about it to see exactly where you are. Mike, was there anything you wanted to add to that at all?
Yeah, it's a very valuable diagnostic or assessment. It only takes about 15 minutes, and it generates a 25-page report. So you want to see that for your business, and it'll point you in the right direction.
Nice. Bruce, any more thoughts from you maybe on what's coming up next week? Do we know that yet?
Yeah, so we're going to be continuing this whole thread is how do you gauge your people, and we're inverting different perspectives. So we've seen one inversion today. Next time we're going to be another inversion, as opposed and looking at this whole area of the assumed brilliance of strategic planning versus strategic improvement. So cycles of improvement as opposed to strategic planning. That's the topic up for discussion next week. And I think you'll find it fascinating because it's another inversion which we believe is going to really accelerate your progress towards the outcomes that you're after as a business.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Bruce. And we hope to hear from anybody who's listening.
Thank you, everybody.
See you later.
Bye.